This article is about the literary device. To read about the prewriting technique, see free writing. In literary criticism, stream of consciousness is a narrative mode, or device, that seeks to depict the multitudinous thoughts and feelings which pass through the mind. Another term for it is interior monologue. The term was coined by William James in 1890 in his The Principles of Psychology, and in 1918 May Sinclair first applied the term stream of consciousness, in a literary context, when discussing Dorothy Richardson's novels. Definition: stream of consciousness is a narrative device that attempts to give the written equivalent of the character's thought processes either in a loose interior monologue, or in connection to his or her actions. Stream of consciousness writing is usually regarded as a special form of interior monologue and is characterized by associative leaps in thought and lack of some or all punctuation. Stream of consciousness and interior monologue are distinguished from dramatic monologue and soliloquy, where the speaker is addressing an audience or a third person, which are chiefly used in poetry or drama. In stream of consciousness, the speaker's thought processes are more often depicted as overheard in the mind. It is primarily a fictional device. The term stream of consciousness was coined by philosopher and psychologist William James in The Principles of Psychology. Consciousness, then, does not appear to itself as chopped up in bits. It is nothing joined. It flows. A river or a stream are the metaphors by which it is most naturally described. In talking of it hereafter, let's call it the stream of thought, consciousness, or subjective life. In the following example of stream of consciousness from James Joyce's Ulysses, Molly seeks sleep. A quarter after, what an unearthly hour, I suppose they're just getting up in China now, combing out their pigtails for the day. Well, soon have the nuns ringing the angelus, they've nobody coming in to spoil their sleep except an odd priest or two for his night office, or the alarm clock next door at cockshout clattering the brain out of itself. Let me see if I can doze off. 1 2 3 4 5 What kind of flowers are those they invented like the stars? The wallpaper in Lombard Street was much nicer. The apron he gave me was like that something, only I only wore it twice. Better lower this lamp and try again so that I can get up early. Interior monologue. While many sources use the terms stream of consciousness and interior monologue as synonyms, the Oxford Dictionary of Literary Terms suggests that they can also be distinguished psychologically and literarily. In a psychological sense, stream of consciousness is the subjecta matter, while interior monologue is the technique for presenting it. And for literature, while an interior monologue always presents a character's thoughts directly unregistered trademark, without the apparent intervention of a summarizing and selecting narrator, it does not necessarily mingle them with impressions and perceptions, nor does it necessarily violate the norms of grammar or logic. But the streama of consciousness technique also does one or both of these things. Similarly, the Encyclopaedia Britannica Online, while agreeing that these terms are often used interchangeably, suggests that while an interior monologue may mirror all the half-thoughts, impressions, and associations that impinge upon the character unregistered trademark S consciousness, it may also be restricted to an organized presentation of that character unregistered trademark S rational thoughts. Progress and use of the technique. The beginnings to 1922. While the use of the narrative technique of stream of consciousness is usually associated with modernist novelists in the first part of the 20th century, a number of precursors have been suggested, including Lawrence Stern's psychological novel Tristram Shandy. In the 19th century, it has been suggested that Edgar Allan Poe's short story The Telltale Heart foreshadows this literary technique. Because of his renunciation of chronology in favor of free association, a Permille de Dujardin's Les Lauriers sont couple copyright S is also an important precursor. Indeed, the possibility of a direct influence is evocated by James Joyce and Virginia Woolf, and having picked up a copy of Dujardin's novel in Paris in 1903. There are also those who point to Anton Chekhov's short stories and plays in Knut Hamsun's Hunger and Mysteries as offering glimpses of the use of stream of consciousness as a narrative technique at the end of the 19th century. Henry James has also been suggested as a significant precursor, in a work as early as Portrait of a Lady. However, it has been suggested that Arthur Schnitzler, in his short story Lieutenant Gustl, was in fact the first to make full use of the stream of consciousness technique. But it is only in the 20th century that this technique is fully developed by modernists. Marcel Proust is often presented as an early example of a writer using the stream of consciousness technique in his novel sequence La Recherche du temps perdu, but Robert Humphrey comments that Proust is concerned only with the reminiscent aspect of consciousness, and that he was deliberately recapturing the past for the purpose of communicating. Hence he did not write a stream of consciousness novel. The term was first applied in a literary context in The Egoist, April 1918, by May Sinclair, in relation to the early volumes of Dorothy Richardson's novel sequence Pilgrimage. Another early example is the use of interior monologue by T.S. Eliot in his poem The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, a work probably influenced by the narrative poetry of Robert Browning, including Soliloquy of the Spanish Cloister. 1922 to the 21st century, possibly the most famous use of the technique came in 1922 with the publication of James Joyce's Ulysses. Prominent users in the years that followed include Italo Svevo in La Coscienza di Zeno, Virginia Woolf in Mrs. Dalloway and To the Lighthouse, and William Faulkner in The Sound and the Fury. Though Randall Stevenson suggests that interior monologue, rather than stream of consciousness, is the appropriate term for the style in which subjective experience is recorded, both in the Waves and in Woolf's writing generally. Samuel Beckett, a friend of James Joyce, uses interior monologue in novels like Molloy, Malone Mute and L'innommable and the short story From an Abandoned Work. The technique continued to be used into the 1970s in a novel such as Robert Anton Wilson Robert Scheer collaborative Illuminatus, with regard to which the 14 Times warns readers, to be prepared for streams of consciousness in which not only identity but time and space no longer confine the narrative. With regard to Salman Rushdie, one critic comments that A. L. Rushdie's novels follow an Indian Islamic storytelling style, a stream of consciousness narrative told by a loquacious young Indian man. Other writers who use this narrative device include Sylvia Plath in The Bell Jar, Irvin Welsh in Trainspotting, and Terry McMillan in her novel How Stella Got Her Groove Back. Stream of consciousness literature in the 21st century. Stream of consciousness continues to appear in contemporary literature. Dave Eggers, author of A Heartbreaking Work of Staggering Genius, according to one reviewer, talks much as he writes, a forceful stream of consciousness, thoughts sprouting in all directions. Novelist John Banville describes Roberto Bolaños' novel Amulet as written in a fevered stream of consciousness. The first decade brought further exploration, including Jonathan Safran Foer's Everything is Illuminated and many of the short stories of American author Brendan Connell. See also, stream of consciousness, free writing, free indirect speech, internal monologue, modernist literature, notes. References, Cohn, Dorrit. Transparent Minds, Narrative Modes for Presenting Consciousness in Fiction, 1978. Joyce, James. Ulysses, 1922. RPT. Harmondsworth, Penguin, 1986. Friedman, Melvin. Stream of Consciousness, A Study in Literary Method, 1955. Humphrey, Robert. Stream of Consciousness in the Modern Novel, 1954. Randall, Stevenson. Modernist Fiction, An Introduction. Lexington, University of Kentucky, 1992. Sachs, Oliver. In the River of Consciousness. New York Review of Books, January 15, 2004. Schaffer, E.S. Comparative Criticism, Volume 4. Cambridge, Cambridge University Press. PA 119. Retrieved January 12, 2011. Tumanov, Vladimir. Mind Reading, Unframed Direct Interior Monologue in European Fiction. Amsterdam, Editions Rodopy, 1997. Google Books.